compound statements, and it's highlighted here for you. And connectives. Oh, there we go. And there's basically 4 words that would fit into one of these categories: or, and, if then, and if and only if. Okay? So that takes the statements we've been looking, those really easy ones, like all students pass the exam. That's a statement. Now we're going to combine that and add in something like, and they didn't study at all, something like that. So that's 2 statements. Anytime we connect 2 statements, now we have a compound statement. Okay? Conjunction is just 2 statements connected by the word and. Pretty straightforward. The notation, if we have P and Q as our 2 statements, okay, you use what looks like an upside down V. Okay? And I don't know if any of you are familiar with set notation, but in other math classes, you might have seen things like this, which typically stands for or the upside down U, which typically stands for and or intersection. Does that look familiar to any of you? Okay. If not, something new to learn, but all you got to remember here is that when you see this symbol, this translates to P, whatever P is, and Q. Okay, that's all that means when you see that. Okay. And just an added, you won't see this all the time, but you got to be familiar with it. There's lots of ways to say and. So for example, that statement I started with earlier where I said, all students passed the exam and they didn't study, could also be said as, all students passed the exam, but they didn't study. But and, same thing. Nevertheless, same thing. Okay, so all of these are equivalent to the word and. Okay. Okay. So a lot of the writing is written out for us in example 1. We just got to read the 2 statements real quick, and then we're translating A and B into symbolic form. So just take 30 seconds, read them through, and translate how you would write the statements. Just writing out what the translation is in symbols. Using letters and this new symbol that we just learned. And maybe a different symbol that we learned yesterday or reviewed yesterday. All right. Amy, what do you think? Did you try it? What did you have? Now is the time to make mistakes and mess up. If you guys make a mistake now, it's not a big deal. You learn from it. Anybody in your group want to help her out?
I did the P upside down B, not the but, then T.
And then T? Almost.
Maybe that one sign then T.
The one sign. Yeah. That's it. Okay? When you see the letter P, you read, a student places into developmental math. The upside down symbol, right? That means and or but, however you want to say it. This negation symbol means does not take, right? You just add in the did not, do not, does not, however you make it agree with the sentence. Okay, and that's it. Does that make sense? Okay, what about the second one? I was almost going to say Kevin. Kyle. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Tilde. P. Carrot. T.
Yes. That's it. Okay? And so that we're all on the same page, when you translate these sentences, if you're writing me or telling me what to write, you could just say not P and T, and I know exactly what you mean. Okay? All right. Any questions? Okay, let's go on to or. Okay? It's time. Yeah, we should probably talk about this. Okay, so most of the time when you guys use the word or, it's used loosely as having a double meaning depending on the context. Okay? And actually the example they have here about soup and salad versus coffee, dessert, okay, is a really good one to think about. So for example, when you guys go to a restaurant, and a lot of times you get those deals, right, where you can get a soup or a salad and then an entree and then whatever, right? When they ask soup or salad, what are they expecting you to do when they say soup or salad? To choose what? One, right? Either soup or salad. Otherwise, they're usually going to charge you, right? Because you get one or the other. Okay? But now when they come back to you and ask, do you want coffee or dessert after your meal, most of the time they're asking you if you want either one or maybe both. Do you see what I'm saying? So they're using the word or as meaning two different things. Okay? In this class, when we say the word or, we mean an inclusive or. Which really means that it could be one or the other. Here's an example. Raise your hand if you're wearing shorts or a blue t-shirt. Okay? Are any of you with your hands raised wearing just shorts? Are any of you with your hand raised just wearing a blue t-shirt? Are any of you wearing a blue t-shirt and shorts? Actually, I guess I would kind of fit that, right? I have shorts, and it's not really a t-shirt, but it's blue, right? Do you guys see what I'm trying to say? When I asked that question, are you wearing shorts or a blue t-shirt? You could have fit the description of only wearing shorts, and you would have been, yeah, that's me, right? Or if you were only wearing a blue t-shirt, that would have been you. Or if you were wearing both a blue t-shirt and shorts, you still would have had your hands raised. Does that make sense? Okay? So that's what we mean by inclusive when you see the word or. So we don't mean exclusively one or the other, but not both at the same time in math when we use the word or. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. So here, the definition, two statements. Whoops. Yep, slides right up here. Two statements connected by the word or. Okay. The notation, you just reverse that symbol, so now it's not upside down, it just looks like a V. Okay? So when you see that, that means or. Any questions so far? Okay, let's see if this will go better this time. Turn the page, go to example 2, read the two statements, and now translate the compound statements for A and B. Got it already?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like little B,
So P or,
the tilde, and then
not Q. Okay. Very good. It's fine, I know what you meant. Again, you could just say P or not Q. That's how you translate that. Okay. Itzel, your group. How do you do the second one? Yeah. That's it. Oh, wait. Because, oh, they used T, didn't they? Ooh, you know what? There, now we're okay.
wait, so why is it
I didn't see that. Okay. Yes. Because I thought it was a Q up here, but it wasn't. Yeah. No, that's my bad. So I just changed it on mine. If you have T, that's perfect. All right. So look, all it is reading carefully. When you see does not, or you see the word not in there, you just got to have the negation or the not symbol. Okay. If you don't want to call it tilde, that's tilde. That's fine. Okay. So not P or not Q. That's how you would read that. Okay. All righty. Let's go ahead and read through 3.2.3, the if-then statements. Just read through to get some background on that real quick before we start talking about it. Okay. So let's just define what the conditional is. And that's, again, a compound, or two statements. Let's do it that way. Connected with if, then. Okay, and the notation, typically, you know, you have your letters, P, then you have this little arrow, Q. Okay, and the way you read this is if P, then Q. That's how you would read that, so that we know what we're talking about. Okay. Now, let's just go ahead and finish filling this out. We'll talk about why many people use this phrase incorrectly. Okay. Couple of things. I know it seems kind of silly to read something like this, but if you make an example with actual things, then you can kind of think about it. So, for example, all dogs have 4 legs, right? That is the same thing as saying if you are a dog, then you must have what? 4 legs. Okay, so all something is something else is the same as an if-then statement. Okay, if A, then B. A is necessary for B. Okay, same thing. Okay, all of these are just different ways of saying if blah blah blah, then you can, do something else. Okay. Take a few seconds, translate example 3. So again, a lot of reading, but we're not really writing a lot of words today. We're just writing the symbols. So go through A, B, C, D, E, and then translate that symbolically. We got 5 problems there. I'll call on 5 groups to get answers here. Okay, let's start going through these. Adam, you or Francisco, either one. What do you guys have for the first one? P, arrow. That's correct. Okay. This one's a little tricky if you're not careful. Do you guys see how the if portion is actually written at the end of the sentence here? You always write that first, though. The consequence or the result, which is being placed into developmental math, that goes at the end of the symbolic statement. Okay? Bless you. Let's look at B. Lindsay, you or your group? What do you think? Yeah. Let's go to C. Michael, you were.
tilde P, arrow, tilde T.
That's correct. You know, it's so funny. Every year, students don't like saying that, and so they just get used to saying not P or if. So here's how we would have said it before: if not P, then mustache, then not T. But you guys love saying tilde and then arrow and. All right, D. Jason, you or your group? What do you think? So if P, then Q or T. Keep using T or Q. That is correct. Last one. Jacqueline, you or someone at your table. Good. Questions? Okay, let's turn the page. Now it's going to get a little bit tricky and wordy, and so let's take that example that they use in the notes. If and only if statements. Okay. No one really talks this way. In math, we do all the time. You know, mathematically, that's how we say things. But, for example, your parents may have been kind of mean to you and said this at some point or another, right? Or maybe it wasn't cleaning your room, it was something else. But do you guys, anyone have that conversation before with a mom or dad? Okay? Well, here's the thing. Here's the bad news for them, and you can now go ahead and tell them that they shouldn't have said it that way. They didn't mean that. Okay? What they meant to say was, you can go to the movies if and only if you clean your room. Okay? Here's what I mean. If you clean your room, then you can go to the movies with your friends. That's a pretty clear, you know, if you do this, here's the reward, right? Do they say anything about what happens if you don't clean your room? So theoretically, it doesn't make you could not clean your room and you could still go to the movies. The way they're saying that. Okay? What they mean to say though is using this if and only if, like if your room gets cleaned, you go. If your room does not get cleaned, you don't go, right? Pretty simple. All right? So that's what we call a biconditional statement. And again, this is two statements connected by the words if and only if. And just some common things to be on the lookout for. If and only if. This is a commonly used abbreviation. It's not really a word, IFF. It's an abbreviation that stands for if and only if. So if you see that, if you see me throwing it around on the board or maybe on my math lab, that's the same as if and only if. Okay? Definitions are always if and only if statements. Okay? That's pretty important. And then also, just another way to say if and only if, you can say is necessary and sufficient, and it means the same thing. Okay? So I'll just kind of do these quickly. In example 4, we have a student can register for a closed class. That translates to R. If and only if. They get an override. That's S. Okay. Pretty straightforward, yes? All right. A student cannot take dual credit. So how would I write that? Squiggly line. Not M, if and only if. Academic counselor does not say the student, so that would be another negation, and then A. C. The academic counselor saying the student is eligible is necessary and sufficient. Necessary and sufficient means if and only if. And theoretically, it doesn't matter which order you write it in, but you can put M and then A since that's kind of the theme that we had for Part B. Okay? Are there any questions there? All right, this is a good place to stop. We're going to finish this up tomorrow. For the time being, if you have any questions, please ask. If you want to get started on